She shouted, "You'll regret walking away from me. I always get what I want." I said, "Not this time." When she showed up to take back what she claimed was hers, the court order taped to the door proved otherwise. I, 29 male, just had to call the cops on my ex-girlfriend Bianca, 31, for trying to break into my photography studio. The same studio she swore she'd take from me when we broke up 3 months ago. Let me back up. Bianca and I dated for 2 years. She worked in PR, I'm a photographer. When we met, I was doing mostly freelance gigs, weddings, portraits, struggling to make rent. She had connections in the fashion industry through her job. About a year into dating, she started booking me fashion shoots through her contacts. Good money, great exposure. I was grateful. Maybe too grateful. I didn't notice the strings being attached until they were wrapped around my neck. 6 months ago, I'd saved enough to lease a small studio space. Nothing fancy, 800 square feet in an old building, but it had great natural light and was mine. Bianca helped by introducing me to more clients, even suggested we market it as our creative space to her connections. Red flag, I know. But I was riding high on finally having my own place. She started treating the studio like her personal office, held PR meetings there, stored client gifts, even had packages delivered. When I gently suggested she ask before scheduling meetings during my shoots, she laughed. "Babe, without me, you'd still be shooting birthday parties in parks. This studio exists because of my connections. I pay the lease, Bianca. My name's on everything. Money isn't everything. I made this happen." The entitlement grew. She'd cancel my bookings to use the space. Told clients I was busy when she needed the studio for her own purposes. Started referring to it as our studio, then just my studio when talking to her friends. 3 months ago, I hit my limit. She'd canceled a $3,000 product shoot, told the client I was sick because she wanted to host a PR party. When I confronted her, she said, "It's one shoot. I'll get you 10 more. Stop being ungrateful." "I'm not your employee, Bianca. This is my business." "Your business? You mean the business I built? The studio I filled with clients? The studio I lease, the business I run. You helped, yes, but..." "Helped?" She was screaming now. "I created you. You're nothing without me." I ended it that night. Told her we were done, professionally and personally. Asked for my apartment key back. Yeah, we weren't living together, but she had a key. Her response still echoes in my head. "You'll regret walking away from me. I always get what I want." "Not this time," I said. She threw my key at me and stormed out, but not before promising she'd take everything you think is yours. I thought it was just angry ex talk. I was wrong. Update 1. The first 2 weeks after the breakup were quiet. Too quiet. I changed my apartment locks just in case, but kept the studio the same. It's a commercial space with good security, and changing those locks would have been expensive. Then the games started. First, she called all the clients she'd introduced me to, telling them I was unstable and had stolen her creative concepts. Lost 3 bookings immediately. Whatever. I'd built my own client base too. Next, packages started arriving at the studio. Not for me, for Bianca Torres Creative Consulting. When I returned them to sender, she texted, "Those are important client materials. You have no right." "You don't work here, Bianca. Use your own address." "That is my address. I established that studio as my creative base." "No, you hung out in my studio sometimes. Big difference." She started showing up during my shoots, just walking in, acting like she belonged there. The security code hadn't been changed, my mistake, and she'd memorized it. After the 3rd interruption, I changed the code and explicitly told her she was not welcome without invitation. Her response was to send a formal letter from some budget lawyer claiming she had established tenancy in the studio through regular use and property storage. I laughed. Tenancy? In a commercial photography studio where she never paid a dime? Good luck with that. But then I found out she'd been telling people she was a co-founder of my studio, had business cards printed, listed my studio address on her LinkedIn, was actively booking her own PR meetings there, telling clients I was the one subletting from her. Time to get serious. I hired a lawyer, Diane, who specialized in small business disputes. She reviewed everything: lease, bank records, emails, texts. She has absolutely no claim, Diane said, but she's creating a paper trail that could complicate things. We need to shut this down now. We sent a cease and desist. Clear language. Stop claiming ownership. Stop using the address. Stop interfering with the business. Bianca's response was to post on Instagram. When you build something beautiful with someone and they try to erase your contributions, standing up for what's mine. Entrepreneur struggles, women in business. The comments were all supportive. Poor Bianca, pushed out by her ungrateful ex. I didn't engage. Just screenshotted everything. 2 days later, she showed up with a moving truck. Update 2, I was editing photos when I heard the commotion outside. Looked out the window. Moving truck, 2 guys with dollies, and Bianca directing them like a general. I met them at the door. What's happening here? Bianca smiled sweetly. Moving my things out. Since you're being petty about the space, I'm taking what's mine. You don't have things here. Oh, really? She pushed past me, the movers following. Started pointing at equipment. That lighting kit, bought with money from clients I brought. Those backdrops, purchased during our relationship. That desk, I picked it out. I have receipts for all of this. My receipts. Receipts don't tell the whole story. She turned to the movers. Start with the desk. I stepped between them and the desk. Nobody's taking anything. Bianca, you need to leave. Or what? You'll call the cops on your girlfriend? Ex-girlfriend. And yes, she laughed. I know my rights. I have belongings here. You can't deny me access to my property. What property? Name one thing in here that's yours. She walked to a corner shelf, pulled down a small potted plant, one she'd brought months ago and forgotten about. This, see? My property. That gives me the right to be here. The movers looked uncomfortable. One asked, Ladies, should we wait outside? No, I'm paying you to move my things. I called the police, told them someone was trying to remove equipment from my studio. Bianca told the movers to hurry. They refused. They didn't want trouble. When the cops arrived, Bianca turned on the tears, said she was just trying to collect her belongings from a shared workspace. Even showed them the business cards with my studio address. The officers looked at my lease, my ID, then asked Bianca for any proof of ownership or residency. She had her business cards and that's it. Ma'am, this appears to be his commercial space. Unless you have documentation showing ownership or a legal right to remove property, you need to leave. But we built this together. I have clients here. Then you'll need to sort it out in court. For now, you need to go. She left, but not before hissing, This isn't over. I always get what I want. The potted plant sat on my desk, wilting. Update 3. After the moving truck incident, I thought maybe reality had set in. Nope. Bianca just got more creative. She filed a small claims suit, not for the studio, even she wasn't that delusional, but for lost income from dissolved business partnership and unreimbursed business expenses. She claimed we were 50-50 partners, and I owed her half the studio's value plus compensation for the clients she'd brought. The number she came up with? $45,000. Diane laughed when she saw it. She's fishing. This won't hold up, but you'll need to respond. We filed our response with a counterclaim for harassment and interference with business. I had documentation of every canceled booking, every interrupted shoot, every false claim she'd made to clients. Then things escalated. Again, I arrived at the studio one morning to find the locks glued shut, super glue in every keyhole. Had to call a locksmith, missed a morning shoot, cost me $400 to fix, and a $500 cancellation fee from the client. Security footage showed Bianca at 3 a.m., hoodie up, but clearly her. 2 days later, every photography studio in the area received an email from concerned client, warning them about me. Claimed I was unstable, stole equipment, and had unethical business practices. Most ignored it, but 2 studios I sometimes collaborated with called to ask what was going on. Then she made her biggest mistake. She filed a complaint with the building management, claiming to be a tenant being illegally evicted. Forged a sublease agreement between us, even created fake payment records. Building management called me, confused. She says she's been paying you $800 a month to share the space? That's completely false. I have all my bank records here. She's never paid me anything. They were skeptical until I showed them our text exchanges where she explicitly stated she'd never paid for the studio. They were not amused by the forged documents. Diane's eyes lit up when I told her. Forgery. Fraud. This changes things. We're going from defense to offense. We filed a restraining order request with all the evidence. The harassment, The property damage, the forged documents, the security footage. Judge granted a temporary order immediately, pending a full hearing. Bianca was served at her office. Her coworkers saw the whole thing. She called me from a blocked number that night, screaming about humiliation and how I'd ruined her reputation. "You did that yourself," I said, and hung up. The restraining order required her to stay 100 feet from me and 500 feet from the studio. No contact except through lawyers. She'd have her day in court to contest it, but until then, she was legally barred from my life. You'd think that would stop her. You'd be wrong. Update 4. The restraining order hearing was set for 2 weeks out. Bianca hired a new lawyer. Apparently the first one dropped her after the forgery came to light. In those 2 weeks, she got desperate. Couldn't contact me directly, couldn't come near the studio, but she wasn't done. She created a website, The Truth About My Business Name. Full of lies about stolen equipment, breached contracts, and a pattern of exploiting women entrepreneurs. SEO optimized so it showed up when anyone Googled my business. But she made a crucial error. She registered the domain in her own name. Easy to trace. More evidence for our file. Then came the reviews. 1-star ratings on every platform from obviously fake accounts, all posted within hours. Racist photographer. Stole my deposit. Inappropriate behavior during shoot. Fortunately, most platforms have ways to dispute fake reviews, especially with a restraining order as evidence. The hearing arrived. I wore my only suit. Bianca showed up in full corporate power dress, looking every inch the wronged businesswoman. Her new lawyer argued that the restraining order was an attempt to silence a business dispute between former partners. Claimed Bianca had sweat equity in the studio and was being punished for asserting her rights. Diane systematically destroyed every claim. Bank records showing I alone paid for everything. The lease in only my name. Text messages where Bianca acknowledged it was my studio. Security footage of her damaging property. The forged sublease documents. The fake website registration. Screenshots of false reviews. The judge asked Bianca directly, "Did you create these sublease documents?" They were draft agreements we discussed. "That's not what I asked. Did you create these documents and submit them as authentic?" Long pause. "I was documenting our verbal agreement." So you forged them?" Her lawyer tried to object. The judge wasn't having it. The ruling was swift. Restraining order extended for 1 year. Bianca was ordered to take down the website, cease all defamatory statements, and pay my legal fees, about $8,000. As we left court, she couldn't help herself. Waited until we were in the parking lot, technically 100 feet away, and shouted, "This isn't over. I'll get what's mine. I always win." Diane just smiled and made sure our court reporter heard every word. Update 5. The restraining order should have been the end. But Bianca had one more card to play. 2 weeks after the hearing, I got a call from my landlord, not the building management, the actual property owner. "Mr. My Name, I'm calling about the sublease situation." "What sublease situation?" "Your subtenant, Ms. Torres, contacted me directly. Says you've been illegally subletting and she wants to take over the lease properly." My blood ran cold. She's not my subtenant, she's my ex with a restraining order against her. "She sent me a sublease agreement with your signature." The forged documents. She was using them again, just targeting someone new. I explained everything, sent him the court documents, the restraining order, the ruling about the forgery. He was not pleased. She seemed very professional on the phone, even offered to pay 6 months up front. That detail stuck with me. 6 months up front? Where did Bianca get that kind of money? I found out soon enough. She'd been telling her wealthy clients that she was expanding her creative agency and needed investors for an established studio space. Raised almost $30,000 from 3 people who thought they were investing in her business. When those investors Googled the studio address and found my website, they called me. "We're looking to schedule a meeting about the investment opportunity." What investment opportunity? The truth came out quick. Bianca had shown them photos of my studio, my work, claiming it was all part of her expansion. Promised them equity in a business that didn't exist. 3 very angry investors. And now we weren't talking about small claims court anymore. This was fraud. Actual criminal fraud. Diane connected them with a criminal attorney. I gave statements to the police. Showed them everything. The forged documents, the false claims, the restraining order violations. Contacting my landlord definitely counted. Bianca was arrested at her office, again in front of her coworkers. This time for fraud and violating a restraining order. She made bail, but the damage was done. Her PR firm fired her. The investors were pressing charges. The criminal case was moving forward. And me? I finally had peace. Changed all my locks again, upgraded security, and slowly rebuilt the client relationships she'd tried to destroy. But I should have known she'd try one more thing. Final update. It's been 3 months since the breakup. Bianca's criminal trial is pending. She's out on bail with strict conditions. No contact with me, the investors, or anyone connected to the case. Yesterday morning, I arrived at my studio to find her standing outside. Not within 500 feet, she'd clearly measured. Just standing on the public sidewalk, holding a sign. This business was built on lies and theft. Legal? Technically. Technically she was far enough away. Technically it was free speech. Technically not contact. I called Diane. She sighed. Document it, but unless she approaches or directly contacts you, it's a gray area. I went inside, tried to work, but clients arriving for shoots saw her. Awkward questions, concerned looks. She stood there for 3 hours. Lunchtime, I'd had enough. Went to the building's front door, still maintaining distance, and taped something to the glass door. Large enough for her to read from where she stood. The final restraining order. The fraud charges. The arrest record. And a QR code linking to a simple website I'd created documenting everything. Court documents, security footage, her own text admissions. All public record. All fact. The sign read, "The truth about Bianca Torres, scan for court documents." She stared at it. I watched from inside as people walking by started scanning the code, reading, looking at her with her sad protest sign, shaking their heads. One person I recognized, a client of hers from the fashion world. She scanned, read, looked at Bianca with disgust, and walked away while pulling out her phone. Bianca's face went from smug to panicked. She grabbed her sign and practically ran to her car. Haven't seen her since. Last night, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one line. "You win." Blocked it, but I saved the screenshot, just in case. Because here's what Bianca never understood. This was never about winning. It was about protecting what I'd built. She thought intimidation and lies would get her what she wanted because they always had before. Not this time. The studio is thriving. I'm booked solid for the next 2 months. The clients she drove away, most came back when they learned the truth. The new security system includes cameras that would make a casino jealous. And that wilted plant she left, I nursed it back to health. It sits in my office window, a reminder that even things that seem dead can come back stronger. Bianca's trial starts next month. I'll have to testify. But I'm not worried. I have receipts. Literally and figuratively. Every text, every email, every forged document, every lie she told. She thought she'd take my studio because she always gets what she wants. But wants and gets are 2 different things, and sometimes what you get is exactly what you deserve. The court order taped to my door isn't just paper. It's proof that truth wins. Eventually, even when the lies are loud and the liar is relentless. She wanted my studio. What she got was a criminal record and a career in ruins. I wanted peace. What I got was a business that's truly mine, and the knowledge that I can stand up to anyone who tries to take it. Not a bad trade. Honestly, my ex who left me broke in divorce begged, "Please let me move back in. I made a huge mistake." I responded, "Oh?" Then I handed her the contact info for a homeless shelter. Now, she is threatening to take me to court. I, 38 male, am sitting here with a freaking printout in my hand, a printout from a homeless shelter, and my ex-wife, Amy, 35, is the reason it's in my hand. Buckle up, folks, this is a ride. So about 18 months ago, Amy decided our 10-year marriage was over. No discussion, no "I'm unhappy," just a lawyer's letter dropped on the kitchen counter while I was at work. Said she wanted out, wanted her half, and wanted it now. I was blindsided. We weren't rich but comfortable. I worked a steady job in logistics. She was a part-time yoga instructor. The main asset was the house, which my grandfather left me, but we'd renovated it together. Her lawyer, a shark named Mr. Vance, argued that her emotional labor in the marriage and her stifled career potential, her words, apparently, meant she deserved more than half. They went after my inheritance, claimed I hid assets. I didn't, and basically bled me dry. I had a decent lawyer, Ms. Albright, but she said fighting every outrageous claim would cost more than settling. Amy got the lion's share of our savings, a big chunk of the equity from the forced sale of my family home, and a significant lump sum alimony payment, which was intended to cover her needs for roughly 3 years while she supposedly re-established her career. I ended up in a small rental, barely making ends meet after she was done with me. My savings were wiped. Gone. Every spare cent I had, and some I scraped together through means I'd rather forget, went to Ms. Albright just to navigate the divorce mess and ensure I wasn't completely railroaded. It meant a lot of instant ramen and zero social life, but I kept my head above water, legally speaking. I was devastated, not just by the money, but by the betrayal. 10 years, and this is what I was to her? A piggy bank to smash? Fast forward to last week. It's been a tough year and a half. I've been working overtime, cut every possible expense, started a little side hustle doing freelance dispatch consulting, which was just beginning to show promise. Slowly, very slowly, clawing my way back. I'm not living large, but the panic attacks about bills have mostly stopped. Then a call. Unknown number. Gary? It was Amy. Voice all shaky. Amy, I kept it flat. Gary, I need to talk to you. It's important. What's up? Can we meet, please? I'm in a really bad place. My gut churned. Part of me, the stupid soft part, felt a flicker of something. Concern, pity. The other wiser part, the one that remembered eating ramen for weeks because she'd blown through her massive settlement and the lump sum alimony like it was pocket change, screamed red flag. I'm busy, Amy. What is it? I lost my apartment, Gary. My roommate, she just kicked me out, and the money, it's gone. I made some bad investments. That guy I was seeing after we split, turns out he wasn't who he said he was. Her voice cracked. He took everything I had left. Internally, I'm like, bad investments or bad choices in men, which seems to be a pattern. And what about that huge payout you got? But I just said, that's rough. Rough? Gary, I have nowhere to go. I'm literally staying on a friend's couch, and she says I have to be out by the weekend. Please, can I just stay with you for a little while, just until I get back on my feet? I made a huge mistake, Gary. Leaving you, it was the biggest mistake of my life. I see that now. I was quiet for a long moment. The sheer audacity, after how she raked me over the coals, left me with practically nothing while she walked away with a fortune meant to last her years. Now she made a mistake and expects me to fix it? Oh, I said, finally. Just that. Oh. Then I said, hold on a second, Amy. I put the phone down, walked over to my laptop, and did a quick search. Found the nearest homeless shelter, printed out their details, walked back, picked up the phone. Gary, are you there? Please say something. Yeah, I'm here. Listen, Amy, I can't help you with a place to stay, but I did look something up for you. I read out the name and address of the shelter and their contact number. They might be able to help you. Silence. Then a hiss. A homeless shelter? You're sending me to a homeless shelter? After everything? You heartless bastard. Amy, I said, my voice very calm. You made your choices. You got your settlement, a very generous one, plus a substantial alimony payout. What you did with it and who you did it with, that's on you. My life, the one you almost destroyed, is finally getting back on track. I'm not derailing it again. You owe me, she shrieked. I gave you 10 years of my life, and you got paid handsomely for those 10 years, remember? Mr. Vance made sure of that, far more than I was left with. This isn't over, Gary. I'll take you to court. I'll sue you for emotional distress, for abandonment. Abandonment? I almost laughed. You're the one who served me with divorce papers, Amy. You're the one who left. And Ms. Albright, my lawyer, still got her on speed dial thanks to the financial foresight you forced on me. So you go right ahead and call Mr. Vance. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to take more of your non-existent money. Then I hung up. My hands were shaking a little, not gonna lie. A tiny part of me felt like a monster. But the bigger part? The part that remembered the sheer coldness in her eyes during the settlement talks as she took everything? That part felt justified. Now I'm just waiting for the fallout. Her sister, Angela, who always took Amy's side, has already blown up my phone with texts calling me every name under the sun. Apparently I'm kicking Amy when she's down and acting like a sociopath. According to Angela, Amy is a victim of circumstance and I should show some damn compassion. Compassion? After they celebrated her freedom and big win when the divorce was final? Yeah, okay. I don't know what she'll do. Can she actually sue me? For what? Refusing to let my grifter ex-wife move back in after she blew through a massive divorce settlement and alimony package? It sounds insane, but with Amy and her enablers, who knows? I just know I'm not caving. Not this time. Update 1, 2 weeks later. Wow. Okay, so it escalated. Didn't think it could get much weirder, but Amy, with the full-throated support of her sister Angela and their enabling parents, has really gone for the gold in terms of entitlement and dirty tricks. So after the homeless shelter suggestion, which, B2, I stand by, the calls and texts from Angela became a daily barrage. Amy is on the verge of a breakdown. How can you be so cruel? Mom and Dad are disgusted with you. Standard stuff. I just started blocking their numbers. Easy peasy. Then came the official-looking letter. Not from a lawyer, mind you, but from Amy herself, CCing her parents and Angela. Typed, formatted, all fancy, like it's a legal document. It was a formal demand for restitution and temporary spousal habitation. I kid you not. She demanded I let her move into my spare room, lol, my apartment barely has a spare closet, and give her a stipend of $1,500 a month until she recovers financially from unforeseen setbacks. Unforeseen setbacks. That's rich, considering her setback was blowing through a sum of money that should have lasted her years, then getting scammed by a boyfriend. The justification? My moral obligation, due to our shared history, and my clearly superior financial position, which is only superior because I didn't squander everything, and I worked my ass off, and she took most of what I had. The sheer nerve asking for a stipend after receiving a massive alimony payout. There was also a veiled threat about releasing personal details about our marriage to my employer if I didn't comply. Basically, blackmail. My first instinct was to ignore it, but the blackmail threat? Nah, I called Miss Albright. Another bill I'd have to figure out how to cover with my slowly growing freelance income, but definitely cheaper than letting Amy back into my life or my finances. I forwarded her the demand letter. She had a good laugh, then got serious. Advised me to send a formal cease and desist via her office, specifically addressing the blackmail threat and making it clear any further harassment or attempts to contact my employer would result in legal action on my part. So, Miss Albright sends the C&D. Amy goes quiet for like 3 days. I actually thought maybe that's it. Oh, naive Gary. Next thing I know, I get a call from my landlord, Mr. Henderson. He's an older guy, pretty chill. Gary, got a weird call today. A woman said her name was Amy. Your ex? My stomach dropped. Yeah? What about her? Well, she was saying some pretty wild things. That you were subletting your apartment illegally, that you were running a business from here against the lease terms, that there were always strange people coming and going, making it sound like a damn trap house or something. Said she was concerned for the building's safety. I was floored. The illegal subletting was because I once had a buddy crash on my couch for a week when he was between places. The business is me, on my laptop, doing freelance dispatch work. Strange people, my pizza delivery guy? Mr. Henderson, I said, trying to keep my voice even. That's absolutely not true. We had a very acrimonious divorce where she received a very substantial settlement. She's now facing financial difficulties of her own making and is trying to cause problems for me because I wouldn't let her move in. Thankfully, Mr. Henderson knows me. I pay rent on time, I'm quiet, no issues. He said, figured as much, Gary. She sounded a bit unhinged. Don't worry about it from my end. Just thought you should know the lengths she's going to. That was a close call. If I'd had a different landlord, that could have been a real problem. The revenge part? It's not about some grand dramatic gesture. It's about letting Amy face the real-world consequences she desperately tried to avoid by crawling back to me and making sure her attempts to screw me over again backfire. After the landlord incident, Miss Albright said we had grounds for a harassment restraining order, especially with the prior blackmail attempt. We filed. Amy was served. The order states no contact, direct or indirect, and no coming within 100 yards of my home or workplace. The real kicker? The bad investments and the scammer boyfriend story Amy was peddling? I did a little digging. Nothing illegal, just social media snooping. Turns out her scammer boyfriend was just a guy she moved in with who got tired of her not paying her share of the bills and kicked her out. The bad investments? From what I can piece together from her old posts and some mutual acquaintances, who are now my acquaintances, she blew a ton of her settlement and the lump sum alimony on lavish trips, designer crap, and propping up her influencer lifestyle for this new guy. The money didn't get stolen. It got spent. By her. I had Ms. Albright's paralegal do a quick asset search before the restraining order hearing, just in case Amy tried to claim indigence to fight it. Lo and behold, while most of the liquid cash was gone, she still had a fairly newish car, a fancy compact SUV, a Starglide X500 or something that she bought right after the divorce, paid in cash from the settlement. At the restraining order hearing, Amy showed up with Angela. No lawyer. Mr. Vance probably dropped her when the settlement money he could bill against ran out. She tried to play the victim, crying about being homeless and desperate. Miss Albright calmly presented the C&D letter, the statement from my landlord, and highlighted the pattern of harassment. When Amy started wailing about having nothing, Ms. Albright politely asked about the Starglide X500 and reminded the court about the very substantial lump sum alimony and settlement Amy had received, all of which was now apparently gone through her own volition. Amy's face went pale. That car, that's essential for me to find work. It's all I have left. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, looked at Amy. Ma'am, your financial situation, however regrettable and self-inflicted it may be given the significant sums you received, does not give you the right to harass or attempt to blackmail your ex-husband. An essential transportation doesn't usually mean a late-model SUV when you're claiming homelessness after squandering a fortune. Restraining order granted. For 2 years. The fallout from her family was immediate. Angela apparently tried to confront me outside the courthouse, from more than 100 yards away, thankfully, screaming that I was a monster and I'd ruined Amy's life. Whatever. The sweet, sweet revenge here isn't just the restraining order. It's the fact that her own actions, her entitlement, and her lies were all laid bare. She didn't get to just rewrite history and waltz back into my life when her new one blew up. She wanted to leave me broke? She got her wish, and then some for herself. She's now living the consequences she cooked up, and I'm finally, truly, moving on. My apartment is peaceful, work is good. That homeless shelter printout, I shredded it. Update 2. It's been about 8 months since Amy first called begging to move in, and 6 months since the restraining order. The silence has been golden mostly. But the universe, or maybe just Amy's brand of karma, had one last encore performance. Life for me has been on a steady upward trend. My freelance dispatch consulting really took off. I'm actually making decent money now. So much so that I quit my old logistics job a couple of months ago to focus on it full time. I actually moved into a slightly bigger, nicer apartment. Still a rental, but it's mine, and it's comfortable. No more ramen noodle nights unless I actually want them. Affording Ms. Albright when needed is no longer a source of panic. I even started dating someone new, a woman named Nicole, who is refreshingly drama-free and actually respects my boundaries. The restraining order did its job. No calls, no texts, no fake concerned citizen reports to my landlord. My new landlord is also aware of the situation, just in case. Angela and the parents also seem to have gotten the message. Then, about a month ago, I get a letter. This one is from a lawyer. A different one. A budget-looking firm I've never heard of. It's a notice of intent to sue for a portion of my new business earnings. I actually laughed out loud. The claim that the foundational skills and contacts I developed during our marriage are the sole reason for my current business success. And therefore, Amy is entitled to a share of its profits as an ongoing marital asset that wasn't fully realized at the time of the divorce. They were demanding full financial disclosure of my new business, the sheer, unadulterated gall. My dispatch skills? I had those before I met Amy. The contacts? Made them through years of hard work and networking in my old job, long after she was a distant memory. Her main contribution to my career during the marriage was complaining I worked too much. I called Miss Albright, who, thanks to my now stable business income, I could retain without blinking. She was amused. Gary, it's a garbage claim. Almost certainly. But we can't ignore it. We need to shut it down hard and fast. So Miss Albright drafted a blistering response, pointed out that the divorce settlement, including the lump sum alimony, was full and final. That my current business was established after the divorce was finalized, with capital I earned after the divorce. That the skills were premarital and developed independently. She also, and this was the genius part, included a copy of the restraining order and a polite inquiry as to whether Amy's new lawyer was aware that his client was legally prohibited from this kind of contact, even through counsel, if it was deemed a form of continued harassment. She also hinted that if this frivolous lawsuit proceeded, we'd be seeking to have Amy declared a vexatious litigant and have her pay all my legal fees. About a week later, Amy's new lawyer sent a curt letter withdrawing the claim. I bet he wasn't thrilled to learn about the restraining order and the potential for him to get sanctioned for filing a frivolous case on behalf of a client clearly trying to abuse the system. But the story doesn't quite end there. This is where the real, satisfying chef's kiss consequence landed. Remember that Starglide X500 SUV Amy had? The one she claimed was essential? Well, word got back to me through a mutual acquaintance. The circle is small, lol. That Amy had been racking up parking tickets like crazy. Apparently, without a steady income because, the massive settlement and alimony were gone, things like parking fees, insurance, and registration become optional in her mind. A few weeks ago, this acquaintance saw the Starglide X500 being towed. Booted, then towed. Apparently it was unregistered, uninsured, and had a mountain of unpaid tickets. So Amy, who left me almost broke while taking a fortune for herself, who tried to take my family home, who demanded more support after blowing through a settlement and alimony package designed to last years, who then tried to blackmail me, tried to get me evicted, tried to sue me for my new business earnings, is now, as far as I know, completely broke, carless, and still presumably couch-surfing or relying on her equally delusional family. Angela, I heard, is getting pretty sick of the endless drama and the financial drain. There's no triumphant gloating from me. Okay, maybe a little smirk when I heard about the car. But mostly, it's a quiet satisfaction. She built her own prison of consequences, brick by entitled brick. I didn't have to become a fiction hero or plot some elaborate revenge. I just had to stand firm, live my life, and let her own actions catch up to her. The best revenge, it turns out, is moving on and building a better life while the person who tried to tear you down implodes due to their own choices. And they do. They always do. Nicole and I are planning a weekend getaway next month. Life is good. Amy, not my circus, not my monkeys anymore. And definitely not my problem.
My daughters told me I wasn't their real father, so I stopped acting like one, but they didn't expect the consequences. I, 52M, worked my ass off as an accountant for a small firm for 27 years. When my daughters were teens, I took on extra evening bookkeeping gigs, weekend tax prep sessions, and every overtime hour available. Not glamorous, but it paid for Rachel, 27F, and Jessica, 24F, to have everything. Looking back, maybe I overdid it. Private tutors, brand new cars at 16, study abroad programs, full college tuition at prestigious schools. I remember eating ramen for months, so Rachel could have that semester in Florence she wanted for her art history degree. Their mom, Deborah, left when Jessica was 3, said she felt trapped and needed to find herself. Found herself real quick in the arms of her tennis instructor, but whatever. The divorce gave me primary custody with standard visitation. Best thing that ever happened to me. Fast forward to last March. Deborah announces she's engaged to Bradley Harrison, some hotshot investment banker. Girls were thrilled. Suddenly they're spending weekends at his mansion, coming home with designer bags, talking about his boat and vacation properties. Fine. As long as they're happy. Then came October. I spent 2 days preparing Sunday dinner. Their favorites from scratch. Turkey was in the oven, table set with the good china I inherited from Mom when they arrived. Late. In Bradley's Mercedes, both wearing matching Cartier bracelets. "Dad, we need to talk before dinner," Rachel said, not even taking off her coat. "What's up?" Jessica took a deep breath. "We're spending Christmas with Mom and Bradley in Vail. He's renting a chalet. That's fine, I said, though it stung. We can celebrate early. When works for you? They exchanged looks. Rachel spoke. Actually, we need to discuss some changes. Changes? Bradley suggested, and we agree, that it's time to reevaluate our family dynamics, Jessica said. He wants to adopt us as adults. I almost laughed. Adult adoption? That's unusual. It happens more than you think, Rachel said coldly. It'll simplify his estate planning. Estate planning? What are you talking about? Jessica pulled out her phone. Dad, Mom finally told us the truth. You're not our biological father. The room tilted. What? She had an affair before the divorce. With her tennis coach, Marco. He's our real father. She never told you because she knew you'd fight for custody. That's absurd. We did DNA tests during the custody proceedings. Rachel shrugged. Mom says you faked them. It doesn't matter anymore. Bradley wants to make us official family, and we think it's best if we start transitioning away from this. She gestured around my modest house. They left without eating, without hugging me goodbye, without even acknowledging the dinner I'd made. I stood there, stunned, surrounded by their favorite foods growing cold. Update 1, 3 days later. Holy shit, this blew up. First, let me clarify. I am their biological father. The DNA tests from the divorce are in my safe deposit box. I checked them again today. 99.9% paternity for both girls. But here's where it gets interesting. I called my lawyer friend, Sarah Chen. She specializes in family law and suggested we send a formal letter requesting they cease making false paternity claims without proof. Their response came from Bradley's attorney. Our clients maintain their position and request you cooperate with the transition of parental rights. Meanwhile, Jessica posted on Instagram, sometimes growth means leaving toxic situations behind, even if it's family. #new beginnings. #chosen family. With a picture of her and Bradley at some charity gala. The comments were split between support and people calling her ungrateful. Then Bradley started texting me. Just sign the papers, make this easy on everyone. You've had your time with them. I can provide opportunities you never could. I responded once. Provide DNA evidence or stop contacting me. His response? Don't embarrass yourself. Real men know when to step aside. But the real kicker? Deborah called yesterday. Why are you making this difficult? Making what difficult? You lying about their paternity? Bradley has connections. The girls could have amazing careers. Why can't you just let go? Because they're my daughters. God, you're so stubborn. Fine. Bradley knows people. Don't make us prove our point in court. I started digging after that call. Something felt off. Update 2, 1 week later. Remember that digging I mentioned? Well, jackpot. Bradley Harrison isn't the financial wizard he pretends to be. My accountant network came through. He's under investigation by the SEC for securities fraud. That mansion? Leased. The boat? Borrowed from a client who's now suing him. I also found out why he needs my daughters. He's been presenting himself as a family man to attract conservative investors. Having 2 accomplished adult daughters, Jessica works for a marketing firm, Rachel's in art curation, makes him look stable. The adoption isn't about estate planning, it's about image. But here's where I might be the AH. I didn't confront anyone. Instead, I 1. Canceled their cell phone plans, still in my name. 2. Removed them as authorized users on my credit cards. 3. Changed the Netflix password. Petty, I know. 4. Sent them itemized bills for their cars, both in my name, and college expenses if they maintain I'm not their father. Total, $372,000. The explosion was immediate. Rachel showed up at my office causing a scene. How dare you cut off my phone during work hours? I'm sorry, do I know you? Dad, this isn't funny. According to you, I'm not your dad. Jessica was smarter. She came by the house that evening, tears ready. "Daddy, please. We didn't mean it. We were just exploring options." "Options that include denying I'm your father?" "Bradley said it would be better for taxes." "Jessica, you took accounting classes. You know that's bullshit." She crumbled. He said we needed to distance ourselves for his investor meetings, that having a middle-class father would hurt his image. Finally, some truth. Update 3, 2 weeks later. The House of Cards collapsed faster than I expected. Bradley's SEC troubles hit the news. Turns out he wasn't just under investigation. They were building a case for a Ponzi scheme. His investment firm was paying old investors with new money, and he was running out of new money. The engagement imploded when Deborah realized the mansion was a rental and the family fortune was fictional. She tried crawling back to me, but that ship sailed decades ago. But my daughters? They doubled down. Posted about how I was financially abusing them by demanding repayment for their education. Rachel's best friend, who I also helped through college, called me crying, saying Rachel was telling everyone I'm a monster. My sister jumped on the bandwagon. "They made a mistake. Family forgives." Easy to say when you're not the one being disowned for a con artist. I kept all communication through lawyers. Sarah sent formal demand letters for the car payments and a timeline for transferring titles. Either they acknowledge I'm their father, or they pay up. That's when Bradley made his move. Had his lawyer send a threatening letter about extortion and emotional blackmail. Claimed I was interfering with his business by spreading rumors about his financial situation. Sarah laughed. Let him try. Discovery would be hilarious. Social media became a war zone. Team dad versus team daughters. Their friends attacked me. Mine defended me. It got ugly. I stayed quiet, just watched it burn. Update 4, 1 month later. Bradley was arrested last week. Federal agents raided his office and the rental mansion. Deborah was caught trying to leave with suitcases of cash. Turns out she was deeper in the scam than anyone knew. My daughters finally realized they'd backed a losing horse. Both came to my house looking shell-shocked. No designer clothes now, just jeans and sweatshirts. "Dad," Rachel started, We made a mistake." "Several," I corrected. "Bradley's gone. Mom's probably going to jail. Jessica swallowed. "We need help." "What kind of help?" "The FBI froze our accounts. They think we might be involved because we attended investor meetings with Bradley." "Were you involved?" They exchanged panicked looks. Rachel whispered, "We may have helped transfer some money. Bradley said it was for tax purposes." I sighed. "Get a lawyer. A real one. We can't afford one. Our credit cards are maxed. Our accounts are frozen. Sounds like a personal problem." They left in tears. I felt nothing but tired. Final update, 3 months later. The dust has settled. Bradley got 12 years federal time. Deborah got 3 years for conspiracy. She flipped on him immediately, gave up everything. My daughters weren't charged. The prosecutor decided they were willfully ignorant rather than criminally complicit. But their reputations are trashed. Rachel lost her curator position. Jessica's firm let her go. The scandal was too much. They're living together in a small apartment, working retail to make ends meet. They've paid off about $15,000 of what they owe me for the cars. I'm not holding my breath for the rest. Last week, I got a letter from Rachel. "Dad, I don't expect forgiveness. We chose greed over love, lies over family. Every sacrifice you made, every hour you worked, every time you put us first, we threw it away for designer bags and fancy parties. I see you now, all of it, and I'm so, so sorry. Your daughter, if you'll still have me, Rachel." I haven't responded. Not sure I will. Jessica's letter was shorter. "I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. My sister still thinks I should forgive them." "They're your daughters." "Are they?" They seem pretty sure they weren't when Bradley's money was flowing. "Me?" I'm doing fine. Took a vacation for the first time in years. Started dating again. Sarah's sister, actually. She's nice. Works as a librarian. No drama. Works good. Got a promotion to senior accountant. Turns out when you're not constantly stressed about your kids, you perform better. Do I miss them? Every damn day. But I miss who I thought they were, not who they showed themselves to be. Will I forgive them someday? Maybe. But trust? That's earned, not given. And they've got a long way to go. The hardest lesson? Love shouldn't be conditional, but respect absolutely is. Thanks for following my story. It helped to share it. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a life to live. Edit. To answer common questions. 1. Yes, the DNA tests are real and from the original custody case. 2. No, I'm not financing their legal troubles. 3. Yes, they're both trying to rebuild their careers. 4. No, I don't regret cutting them off. 5. Yes, I saved all the receipts. All of them. Remember, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time.
My fiancée accidentally sent me a text meant for her bestie. Just in a few days, I will get him to put my name on the house. I screenshot it, called my lawyer, and had her removed from everything. She came home to change locks and eviction papers. I am 32 male, never thought I'd be writing one of these. Always figured the people who ended up here were either dramatic or unlucky. Turns out, I'm the latter. 3 days ago, I was sitting in my home office reviewing some contracts when my phone buzzed. Text from Kimberly, my fiancée of 2 years. We were supposed to get married in 4 months. Girl, he's so clueless, Almeo. Just in a few days, I will get him to put my name on the house. Then after the wedding, I'll have access to everything. The prenup talk hasn't even come up because he trusts me completely. This is almost too easy. I stared at it for maybe 30 seconds. Then another text. Sorry babe, wrong person, just joking around with Ashley about some reality show we're watching. Here's the thing about Kimberly. I always thought she was terrible at lying under pressure. Turns out she was just arrogant. She got so comfortable in the con, so sure that I was a complete mark, that she got sloppy. That wasn't a mistake born of panic. It was born of supreme, misplaced confidence. I screenshot both texts immediately. Then I did what any rational person would do. I called my lawyer. Hey Paul, hypothetical question. If someone's living in my house but isn't on the deed or lease, how fast can I legally remove them? Paul laughed. That's not very hypothetical, is it? What happened? I forwarded him the screenshots while we were still on the phone. The silence that followed was telling. Okay, he said finally. Here's what we're gonna do. Kimberly had moved in with me 18 months ago. My house, inherited from my grandmother, fully paid off, was mine and mine alone. She'd been pushing lately about feeling more secure and wanting her name on the deed since we're getting married anyway. I'd been considering it. Love makes you stupid like that. But she'd made a crucial mistake. She's not a tenant, Paul explained. She's a licensee at will. She pays no rent, has no lease. In our state, that means you can revoke her license to be there with reasonable notice. We're going to make it very reasonable and very, very fast. Paul had me come to his office immediately. Within a couple of hours, we had a plan. The next day was D-Day. I went home that night and acted normal. Kimberly was on the couch, watching TV, like she hadn't just accidentally revealed she was planning to ruin my life. She smiled when I walked in. Hey babe, how was your day? Pretty good, I said, grabbing a beer. Productive. She patted the couch next to her. I sat down, trying not to think about how many times we'd sat exactly like this. How many lies had there been? So I was thinking, she started, playing with my hand. Since the wedding's coming up, maybe we should look into adding my name to the house? Just for security, you know? What if something happens to you? There it was, the setup. Yeah, maybe, I said. Let me think about it. She beamed and kissed my cheek. You're the best. Oh, and Ashley wants to go dress shopping this weekend? That okay? Of course. I slept in the guest room that night, claiming I was coming down with something and didn't want to get her sick. She bought it. Why wouldn't she? I was the clueless mark, after all. The next morning, I left for work early. In reality, I met Paul at his office to sign the final papers. The day was a blur of coordination. At 10 a.m., I went to the bank and, as a joint owner, exercised my right to withdraw all the funds from our shared accounts, moving the money to a new one in my name only. At noon sharp, the locksmith arrived to change every lock on the property. At 12:30 p.m., the formal notice to quit was taped securely to the front door. At 1 p.m., the movers Paul had arranged arrived and began packing all of Kimberly's belongings. It took them 3 hours. By 4 p.m., everything she owned was in a storage unit, paid for 1 month, more than legally required, but I wasn't a complete monster. Then I waited. She texted at 5:47 p.m., "Hey babe, door won't open? Think the lock's broken?" Me, check the notice on the door. Silence for 3 minutes. Then my phone exploded. 17 missed calls in 5 minutes. I let them all go to voicemail. Finally, she texted, "What the hell is this? A notice to quit? Are you insane?" Me, "Your belongings are at Secure Store on Maple. Unit 47, first month is paid, your car keys are in the lockbox by the garage, code is 4567. Andrew, please. Whatever you think happened, we can talk about this. You can't just throw me out. I live here." "No, you stayed here? Big difference. Paul says you have 24 hours to collect your personal effects before access is rescinded." She tried calling again. I declined and texted, "Only contact me through my lawyer. His number is on the notice." Then I blocked her. The security footage from the next hour was something. My new doorbell camera has surprisingly clear audio. She went from crying to screaming to trying to break in through the back door. The alarm system stopped that real quick, to sitting on the front steps calling everyone she knew. The best part? She called Ashley, on speaker, screaming into her phone just a few feet from the camera. "He knows," Kimberly sobbed. "I don't know how, but he knows. He changed the locks. Everything's in storage. What do I do?" Ashley's response was gold. "I told you not to text about it." "God, Kimberly, how could you get so arrogant?" "It was an accident. I thought I was texting you." "Well, congratulations, you played yourself. Is your name on anything?" "No, I was supposed to handle that this week." "Then you're screwed. Better call Donald." "Donald, that was new." I found out later that Donald was her ex who she'd been consulting about her little scheme. Apparently, she'd done something similar to him years ago, but on a smaller scale. He'd been advising her on how to do it better this time. Nice. Update 1. It's been a week since eviction day, and hoo boy did things escalate. First, she tried the emotional manipulation route. Showed up at my office with tears and a sob story about having nowhere to go. Security escorted her out. She made enough of a scene that my boss asked what was going on. I showed him the texts. He whistled low and said, "Damn, need a few days off to handle this?" Good boss. Then came the social media campaign. She posted everywhere about how I'd suddenly gone crazy and thrown her out for no reason. After 2 beautiful years together, her friends rallied behind her, calling me every name in the book. So I did something petty. I posted the screenshots. The comment section was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Half her friends immediately went silent. The other half tried to claim I'd taken it out of context or that she was obviously joking. Right? Because everyone jokes about conning their fiancé out of their house. Ashley tried damage control, posting about how I was financially abusive and had been controlling Kimberly's every move. Funny, because I'd never even met Ashley. She was always conveniently busy whenever I suggested we all hang out. But the real circus started when Kimberly's mom called me. "Andrew, what's this? I hear about you making my baby girl homeless." I liked Dorothy. She'd always been kind to me, so I sent her the screenshots too. Long silence. Then, "That doesn't sound like my Kimberly." "I thought the same thing, Dorothy. She's staying with Ashley right now. Says you changed the locks while she was at work?" "I changed them at noon. She doesn't have a job, Dorothy. Hasn't for 8 months. "What?" "She said she was working at that marketing firm downtown." Oh, this kept getting better. She told me she quit to focus on wedding planning. It gave her the perfect excuse to be on her laptop all day. I thought she was on Pinterest and talking to caterers. Another long pause. "Andrew, she told me you were the one who wanted her to quit, that you were old-fashioned about working wives." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "Dorothy, I've been asking her to look for work for months. I even offered to help with her resume." I need to go. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm so sorry. She hung up, and I felt bad for her. Finding out your kid isn't who you thought they were? That's rough. But Kimberly wasn't done. Oh no. See, while she couldn't get into the house, she still had access to some of our wedding vendor accounts. I found out when I got an email from our venue. Hi, Mr. Peterson. We're confirming your request to change the date to next weekend and add the champagne fountain package. Your new balance is $47,000. Thanks. $47,000. She'd moved the wedding up, added every possible upgrade, and invited 200 additional guests. The catering alone was now costing more than a car. I called the venue immediately. Yeah, we can't cancel or modify without both parties' consent, the coordinator said. It's in your contract. She's no longer my fiancée. We're not getting married. I understand, but legally. What if my lawyer sends you a formal cease and desist, along with a notice of our intent to file a report for wire fraud if you process any further changes on her authority? Pause. What kind of evidence do you have? Paul sent them a package within the hour, a copy of the notice to quit, the screenshots, and a strongly worded letter. 20 minutes later, I got a call from their legal department. Turns out threatening to embroil a business in a criminal fraud case is something they take seriously. They canceled everything, refunded my deposit, and banned her from the property. But here's where it got really interesting. My phone rang at 11 p.m., unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Don't hang up. Kimberly's voice, but different, calm, cold even. Her last-ditch effort, I'm hanging up. I'll make this worth your while. That stopped me. You have 10 seconds. I know about your Bitcoin wallet. My blood went cold. I'd mentioned it once, maybe twice in passing. Had a decent amount in there from buying in early. Not retirement money, but enough to hurt if it disappeared. So? Donald's good with computers. Really good. Are you threatening me? I'm negotiating. Give me $50,000 and I disappear. You'll never hear from me again. No drama, no lawyers, no mess. Or things get complicated. I was recording the call, of course. Paul had advised me to record everything. Kimberly, are you seriously trying to blackmail me right now? She laughed. Actually laughed. Blackmail? No, I'm offering a clean break. Think about it. Lawyer fees, court costs, time off work, $50K and you're free. Counteroffer. Go to hell. Your funeral, she said, and hung up. I immediately called Paul, then my bank, then the exchange where I kept my crypto. Everything got locked down tight. Two-factor authentication on everything, new passwords, the works. The next morning, I woke up to 47 login attempt notifications. She'd really tried it. The absolute balls on this woman. But she'd messed up again. See, attempting to hack someone's financial accounts? That's a federal crime, and I had her recorded threatening to do it as an act of extortion. Paul was practically giddy when I played him the recording. Andrew, my friend, she just handed us a gift-wrapped felony charge. We filed a police report that afternoon. The cybercrime division was very interested in our evidence. Turns out Donald wasn't as good with computers as Kimberly thought. He'd left digital fingerprints everywhere. Update 2. It's been a month now, and I thought I'd seen everything. I was wrong. The police arrested Donald 2 weeks ago. He folded like a cheap suit, immediately throwing Kimberly under the bus. Showed them text messages, emails, the works. She'd been planning this for over a year. I wasn't her first mark, just hopefully her biggest score. But that's not the craziest part. Remember when I said she was pretending to wedding plan? Well, the business she was really running was a side hustle I knew nothing about. Can you guess what kind? Romance scams. She was coaching other women on how to land wealthy men and separate them from their assets. She had a whole website, testimonials, even a course you could buy for $499 called Securing Your Future, A Woman's Guide to Financial Freedom Through Strategic Relationships. I'm not making this up. One of her success stories reached out to me after seeing the social media drama. Emily, 29, had taken Kimberly's course and successfully convinced her boyfriend to buy her a car before he caught on. She felt so guilty she tracked me down. She was so convincing, Emily told me over coffee. Made it sound like female empowerment, you know? Taking control of our financial futures. She said men had been doing it to women for centuries, so why not even the playing field? How'd that work out for you? Emily laughed bitterly. Lost the car, the boyfriend, and most of my friends when they found out. Kimberly stopped returning my calls after that. Guess I wasn't a success story anymore. Emily wasn't the only one. With her help, we found a cached version of Kimberly's website and reached out to others. I heard from 12 different women, all with similar stories. Kimberly had been running this con game for at least 3 years. But wait, it gets better. My lawyer Paul called me yesterday with news that made me actually laugh out loud. You're not gonna believe this, he said. Kimberly's pregnant. I stopped laughing. What? No, we always used protection. Always. Not yours, apparently. Donald's. She's about 11 weeks along. The timeline was interesting. 11 weeks ago was right around when she started pushing hard about getting her name on the house. Suddenly, the urgency made sense. She was already pregnant with another man's child and needed to secure my assets before the truth came out. How'd you find out? I asked. She's trying to use it as leverage in the criminal case, claiming she can't go to jail because she's carrying a child. Her lawyer submitted medical documents to the court. Is Donald standing by her? Paul snorted. Donald's in federal custody, looking at 5 to 10 years for the cybercrimes. He's not standing by anyone. The prosecutor called me the next day. They were offering Kimberly a plea deal. The extortion charge was serious, but they wanted Donald more. They offered to reduce her charges if she cooperated and accepted a deal. 2 years probation, and she had to shut down her business immediately. If she violated probation, she'd serve 3 years. Why so lenient? I asked. First offense on record, she's pregnant, and honestly, Donald's the bigger fish. Her testimony helps nail him. I wasn't happy, but Paul explained we had another option. As part of the plea to avoid a separate and costly civil trial for the extortion attempt, her lawyer agreed to a settlement. She would pay me $50,000 for damages covering my legal fees and severe emotional distress. Plus, she had to return the engagement ring. Kimberly took the deal, had to stand up in court and admit to everything. The judge made her read out loud from her own website about strategic relationship planning. You could see her die inside with every word. The absolute peak moment when she had to list her assets for the settlement. Turns out she had about $73,000 saved from her coaching business, plus another $15,000 from selling gifts I'd given her. The judge ordered the settlement paid from those funds, returned the ring, and fined her another $20,000. She looked at me across the courtroom when the judgment was read. For the first time since this all started, she looked defeated. Not angry, not scheming, just empty. Her mom Dorothy was there too. She'd aged 10 years in a month, caught my eye and mouthed "I'm sorry" before leading Kimberly out. Update 3. It's been 3 months since everything went down. Figured I'd give you all one last update since you've been following this circus. Kimberly's living with her mom now. The pregnancy is progressing, and from what I hear, she's actually working a real job, retail at a department store. Her coaching website is gone, court-ordered. She paid the settlement in full, which wiped out everything she had. Donald got 7 years. Turns out this wasn't his first federal offense, which didn't help his case. Kimberly's baby will be in elementary school before Dad gets out. Ashley disappeared completely. Deleted all her social media, changed her number. Emily told me she heard Ashley move to another state to start fresh. Good riddance. As for me, I'm doing okay. Not great, not terrible, just okay. I sold the ring and donated the money to a women's shelter. Felt like the right thing to do. The house feels empty sometimes, but I'm slowly making it mine again. Replaced all the furniture she'd picked out, repainted the walls, even got a dog. Named him Paul after my lawyer, who thinks it's hilarious. Dating? Not yet. Trust issues are real, and therapy's helping, but it's a process. My therapist says I need to learn to trust my judgment again before I trust another person. Makes sense, even if it's lonely sometimes. The weird part? I find myself wondering if any of it was real. Were there moments when she actually cared? Or was every kiss, every "I love you," every laugh just part of the con? I'll never know, and maybe that's for the best. Her mom still texts me sometimes, maybe once a month. They're not conversations. Just short, painful apologies. "I hope you're healing" was the last one. I never reply. What is there to say? It's not her fault. Her daughter turned out to be a professional con artist. The funniest part of this whole mess? That group of women who took Kimberly's course? We have a group chat. We call ourselves Kimberly's Survivors and meet for drinks once a month. It's actually been therapeutic, comparing notes and realizing how similar her tactics were with everyone. Emily and I have become she's dating again. She's a social worker who thinks the whole story is insane but loves her anyway. Another woman, Donna, started a legitimate financial planning business for women. She jokes that Kimberly taught her what not to do. Last week, one of them asked me, "Do you regret posting those screenshots? Making it all public?" I thought about it. No, because if I hadn't, she'd be doing this to someone else right now. Maybe your sister or daughter or friend. These people rely on silence and shame to keep operating. Everyone nodded. We all knew the cost of staying quiet. So that's where things stand. No dramatic reconciliation, no revenge beyond the legal system, no neat bow to wrap it all up. Just a bunch of people picking up pieces and moving forward. To anyone reading this who's been through something similar, you're not stupid for trusting someone. They're terrible for violating that trust. Document everything, get a good lawyer, and remember that the best revenge is just living a better life without them. And always, always, trust your gut when something feels off. Because it usually is. Oh, and one last thing. Double check who you're texting before hitting send. You never know when your own arrogance might save someone else's life. Peace out, Reddit. Thanks for following along on this weird journey. Now, if you'll excuse me, Paul, the dog, needs his walk.